What's good, YouTube? It's your boy CD.achille. I haven't been on my nerdy side yet. I don't know why, but this today we're reacting to what if Anakin Skywalker never met Padme Amidala. We all can agree the younglings will be safe.
In The Phantom Menace, a young Anakin
By
Skywalker
fantasy
meets Queen
folklore.
Amidala on Tatooine after they were forced to land there. This meeting ultimately changed the course of galactic history within the Star Wars universe. But what if Anakin Skywalker never met Padme? We'll have this start with Padme and the Jedi landing on Naboo. Qui-Gon decides to travel in town to look for broken parts for their ship. However, this time, Padme doesn't go, but sends her handmaiden instead. They travel into town and find Anakin in Watto's shop. The events play out similar. Anakin offers his hospitality at his home. He wins the pod race and is freed from slavery. Qui-Gon brings Anakin, whom he believes to be the chosen one, back to their ship and they head back to Coruscant. The rest of the Phantom Menace plays out like the movie. Qui-Gon dies and Obi-Wan promises to train Anakin Skywalker. Anakin's early years at the Order are very similar. His new life wasn't one that brought him as much happiness that he thought it would. He struggled to make friends and didn't have any. He was teased by his classmates for being brought in late and even called names including a slave. He spends a lot of this time thinking about his mother, whom he left all alone on Tatooine. Anakin's connection to the Force allowed him to surpass his classmates in no time. His classmates would struggle with learning a new ability or some lightsaber technique, which would take them years to master, but Anakin could do it in a fraction of the time. This led to a lot of resentment and jealousy towards Anakin. Even though he was in the Jedi Order, he felt more alone than ever. He spent a lot of his time in his own quarters, constructing droids and other machines. Palpatine took this opportunity to make the most of Anakin's loneliness and reached out to comfort the boy. He became his mentor, regularly checked up.
I don't think I could see this on YouTube, but pedo. Yep, there we go, pedo.
Up on him and showed Anakin he cared about him. This is where Palpatine took over from Qui-Gon as the father figure Anakin needed in his life. Although the early years of Anakin's training weren't what he expected, his conditions would improve once he was solely under Obi-Wan's tutelage. Obi-Wan would be able to more thoroughly teach Anakin about the Force and Jedi's teachings. Previously, Anakin obsessed about Padme every day during his training and thought about her every night, which directly opposed what he was learning. However, now that his lack of attachment to Padme would allow him to connect to the Jedi teachings more thoroughly, Anakin would mature into a good Jedi who follows the Jedi Code. He would be similar to Obi-Wan, who follows the Jedi Code but also cares about those close to him, something the Jedi teachings could not overwrite. When the time of Attack of the Clones comes around, he and Obi-Wan wouldn't be sent to protect Padme, but rather different Jedi would be tasked with the job. Perhaps Ayla Secura and Quinlan Voss. The clone army would once again be found and the Separatists tracked back to Geonosis. However, in the days leading up to this, Anakin begins having dreams of his mother dying. He begins to have these whilst he's at the Jedi Temple, not traveling around with Padme. Because of this, he decides to confide in Obi-Wan about his dreams. Obi-Wan is shocked when Anakin tells him and doesn't really know what to do. He decides they should talk to Yoda about it, so they do. The three meditate together whilst Anakin tells Yoda about his visions. Yoda tells Anakin not to dwell on these dreams because the future isn't set in stone. But Yoda's main point is that he needs to let go of his past and all of his attachments. Learn to let go and rejoice when someone dies and becomes part of the living Force. Anakin actually agrees with Yoda's teachings and sees it as the correct path. He tries to do this for the next few days but cannot stop dwelling on his mother. He decides that he needs to do something and seeks advice from his mentor Palpatine. Palpatine knew what was going on, of course. He was the one who engineered the whole situation. He paid the Tusken Raiders an absurd amount of money to kidnap and kill Shmi Skywalker. Anakin tells Palpatine everything and he asks for advice. Palpatine offers to organize Anakin a transport to Tatooine that can be hidden from the Jedi. Anakin is overjoyed by this and knew his mentor would have his back. They plan off to the council that Anakin is joining Palpatine on a diplomatic mission. However, he arrives on Tatooine and finds his mother dead in the Tusken Raiders camp. Anakin unleashes his fury on the Sand People, killing the men, women, and children. While this
Nice.
is happening, Obi-Wan and Yoda back at the Jedi Temple can sense that Anakin is experiencing terrible pain, and they put the two and two together. They know he's gone to his mother on Tatooine. Anakin arrives back at the Jedi Temple to find Obi-Wan at the entrance. He confronts Anakin in a calm and non-aggressive tone, but Anakin flatly denies it and gets angry towards Obi-Wan and storms off. However, that was answer enough for Obi-Wan, who tells Yoda. They decide it's best not to punish Anakin, but try to help him deal with the loss. Together they go to Anakin's chambers and the three meditate together once again. They go over what they told Anakin to do previously, but all Anakin can think about is the faces of the women and children he just slaughtered. The next day, Anakin meets with Palpatine to discuss what happened. This is where Palpatine attempts to turn Anakin against the Jedi. He tells Skywalker that it's the Jedi's fault, and that if they had acted earlier and told him not to dwell on it, then he might have been able to save her.
Hella true. Hella true. It's still Loki their fault.
Time. If they had listened to him, she could have still been alive. He continues telling him that they purposefully kept her from him, and because of this, she died. They didn't care about her, they couldn't even bother to free her as a slave. He continues telling him that Anakin is a slave to the Jedi, that they are only using him for their own gain, and that he owes them nothing. Palpatine asks Anakin why should he bother to stay in the Order now. Anakin seriously considers this and thinks about it for a moment, but decides against leaving. But Palpatine could sense the conflict within Anakin, the conflict that would stay. A few days after this, hundreds of Jedi go to Geonosis along with Yoda and the clone army. The Clone War has begun. Anakin and Obi-Wan stay on Coruscant per Kenobi's request due to the recent events. A few months into the Clone War, Anakin is assigned Ahsoka as his Padawan. The council decided Anakin should have a Padawan, because having to teach her would teach him how difficult it was to teach himself. Yoda thought this would also help Anakin's attachment problems. He hoped it would teach Anakin that he doesn't need to be so protective over everyone he cares about. The majority of the Clone War would continue how it previously did. Anakin's power would dramatically increase during this time, as he develops into a fully established Jedi Knight. However, the Clone War continues to corrupt the Jedi with the dark side, and Anakin would be slowly pulled away from his Jedi teachings and forced to use his emotions to dictate his actions. In this timeline, however, Ahsoka would remain in the Jedi Order. Palpatine's power was his manipulation and foresight. Anakin not falling in love with Padme would make things more difficult. He would take a different route to seduce Anakin to his side, since he had become so important to his plans. One thing the Jedi teachings could not train out of Anakin was how much he cared for those closest to him. Anakin developed this trait during his early life of slavery. Living solely with his mother and in their situation taught him this level of compassion to those he loved. Towards the end of the Clone War is when Palpatine finalizes his manipulation. After Anakin returns from killing Count Dooku, Palpatine assigns Anakin as his representative on the Jedi Council, but the Council doesn't believe he deserves the rank of Master.
Damn it! Damn it! I was hoping he'd get the rank of Master. Fuck! Damn! Damn!
That happens as Anakin begins to have dreams of the two people he cares about most, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, dying. All he sees is them lying together on the ground before the light leaves their eyes, life escaping from their bloody bodies. Anakin continues to have these dreams every night. He thought if he was a master, he could achieve the power to save them from his nightmares, but the council has denied him that. If he was a master, he could access the restricted section of the Jedi archives and learn the mysteries of the Force which he believed the masters are keeping from him. Anakin has a one-on-one with Yoda, explains he's having these dreams again, but this time of his master and apprentice. Yoda implores Anakin to not take these visions as absolute, and explains how the future is ever-changing, that these visions could be tricks by the dark side to coerce him, but tells Anakin in the likely chance that they are, he needs to learn to let go of everything he fears to lose. Anakin hears Yoda out but is not satisfied, and Anakin is convinced they will die. That night, he is asked to join Palpatine at the opera, who seduces Anakin with the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. He lures Anakin with the answer to all his problems, right in front of him on a hook. All he needs to do is take the bait. The next day, he is found trying to get into the restricted section of the Jedi Archives, but Jocasta Nu reports him to the Council. Anakin gets a stern telling to and leaves the meeting, furious as ever. He leaves and first heads to Palpatine's office. They discuss how the Jedi don't appreciate Anakin and his talents. Palpatine decides to risk it all. He tells Anakin that he can save his two closest friends from certain death if he joins him. Anakin looks at Palpatine stunned, but he already told himself that he was willing to do anything to save them, and if making a deal with the devil will do that, then so be it. Anakin agrees to join Palpatine and the Sith, and they discuss Order 66. They explain how they will lock Obi-Wan and Ahsoka together, close to Palpatine's office, where they can execute Order 66 to save them from the clones, and together, Anakin and Palpatine will storm the Jedi Temple. Palpatine explains to Anakin that he needs to become strong enough in the dark side to gain the strength to save them. And the only way he can become strong in the dark side is cutting off that which holds him back, but also commit an atrocity worthy of a Sith Lord. This could only be the genocide of the Jedi Order. Anakin calls Obi-Wan and Ahsoka to Palpatine's office separately. One by one they arrive and are ambushed by Anakin and Palpatine, injected with a substance that will keep them unconscious for hours. They're stowed away in a side room. Together, Palpatine and Anakin head towards the Jedi Temple and execute Order 66 on the way. General Grievous has been called in to assist in the raid, and together the three make their way through the Jedi Temple. Grievous destroys the younglings.
Okay, so this time General Grievous, instead of go to Utapau, he goes to Coruscant again. Nice.
And Padawans, and Sidious and Anakin remain together to defeat the more talented Jedi. The clones prove to be very efficient and successful in killing the Jedi.
This man Palpatine is literally touching the lightsaber. Am I tripping or am I high?
They send hundreds on their way to the Master's chambers to hopefully take out some before they have to face them. Windu confronts Anakin and Palpatine along with 4 Masters that survived the clones' onslaught. The 6 engage in battle ferociously. Sidious stuns 2 with his Sith scream and quickly slices them. Anakin uses his youth and speed to overcome another 2 with his lightsaber skills. Mace Windu has a worried look on his face. He knows he's a match for one of them by himself, but not both. Palpatine and Anakin defeat Mace, and only Yoda from the Council is left. They feel Grievous's death through the Force and know Yoda could be the only culprit. In the distance they hear clones dying and see flashes of green light shining through the Grand Hall. Yoda jumps into the room and looks upon the Sith. He looks around to see the other Masters dead. Before he can choose what to do, the Sith are upon them. The battle is glorious and Yoda is the toughest opponent they will face, but he is no match for Sidious and the Chosen One and falls to their blades. They continue executing the Jedi throughout the temple until no one...
Wait, so that mean Reva dead? She's dead, or
one remains. They decide to go back to Sidious's office to prepare for his address to the Senate and check up on Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. But what Anakin didn't know is that Palpatine had secretly ordered clones to check on and clear his office. When Anakin opens the door to check on them, he sees their bodies sprawled out, lifeless, bloodied, and filled with bullet holes. The clones had found them. They were dead, just like his nightmares. He drops to his knees and can't take his eyes off them. He's lost everything. He blames the Jedi. He knew there were things about the Force they weren't telling him, and if they hadn't refused to
Force
teach him,
you.
maybe he could have saved him. Sidious reinforces Anakin's thinking and blames the Jedi. Anakin feels an anger like no other. He is sent by Palpatine to take out the rest of the Separatist leaders to end the war. The only thing Anakin has left is his desire for power, and he will fulfill it. The dark side has him. Thanks for watching, guys. Even if Anakin never met Padme, Palpatine was still cunning and manipulative enough to find another way to turn...
Hey man, great video by Folklore, man. I really love this video. Alright guys, that's the end of this video. Hope you guys like the channel. If you want to see more on Star Wars videos, reaction, I have reacted to Bad Batch Season 2 the other day. Is will be over here. Yeah. All right, man. CD out.